One of my favorite decks of all time is finally top tier once again. Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, we are taking a look at Yummy Tri-Brigade. That's right, Yummy Tri-Brigade. Here's the thing, Tri-Brigade is my favorite deck of all time. I said it was one of. It is in fact my favorite deck of all time. And the reason for this is because I just really enjoy the mechanics of the tri-types and generating advantage by utilizing other archetypes that happen to be within those tri-types. Now, one of the most recent top tier decks has been Yummy. Yummy is an archetype full of light beast monsters. Well, Tri-Brigade is an archetype that centers around being able to utilize beasts. So in tandem, both the Yummy and the Tri-Brigade engines should synergize fairly well. In fact, Yummy Tri-Brigade, alongside some of the new mystical Space Typhoon, Radiant Typhoon, just won a YCS. So, hey, this seems like a great time to take a look at Yummy Tri-Brigade. So here's the list that we are playing. You can see we're playing a lot of engine, right? I'm also playing 43 cards, and the reason for that is because we are still playing a fair amount of dead cards that we do not necessarily want to draw, but on top of that, it's just so that we can fit in as much of our engine as possible. So let's quickly start off with the Tri-Brigade stuff. We're playing 3 apiece of Nerval and Fractal. Fractal is extremely advantageous because it not only has the ability to do the Tri-Brigade stuff, but you can also send a Yummy to the graveyard, and then with any other beast, you can actually banish with a Tri-Brigade to go into Snatchy, which can grab the field spell, which then can grab you that Yummy, which is very nice. So you can pivot the Tri-Brigade half of your engine into the Yummy half, and the Yummy stuff is significantly more powerful, so we're always going to want to do that. Makes sense. So we're playing 3 apiece of both of those. You could also play Tenki if you wanted to. I ended up cutting it because I didn't really have space and I felt like there were better options. So there's that. As for the other Tri-Brigade cards, there's not a whole ton. We're playing 1 Karos, 2 Kit, and 1 Revolt, and that's it. That's all the Tri-Brigades, at least in the main deck, right? That being said, we are also playing the Cat. Rescue Cat has the ability to summon 2 level 3 or lower beast monsters. This can summon either the Yummies or the Tri-Brigades, or a combination of both, which is also very nice, right? So pretty cool there. We're obviously playing 3 of this. This is a very, very strong card for this archetype. And then of course we're also playing a bunch of Yummies, 3 apiece of Cupsy and Yummy and Cookie, and then the 2 Marshmallow as well as the 1 Lollipop. And that is it. Oh, sorry. We're also playing the field spell Mignon as well as the Surprise. That's it for the engines. As far as extra non-engine, we are playing some very specific things. First and foremost, we're playing Maxi, Ash, Nib. That's pretty standard. We're also playing Triple Tack, 3 of this. This is very, very good for Tri-Brigade, and it's also pretty good for Yummy. Pretty much everything is fantastic for this archetype, right? Being able to draw cards means that you can get into your engine more effectively and get additional extenders and stuff like that, as well as board breakers, as you see here. Being able to take a card is always advantageous because linking it off into a Link 1 or a Link 2 or whatever it may be is also very nice, and just in general, pretty solid. And then, of course, looking at the opponent's hands is always nice. And because I feel like it's not advantageous to solely play either board breakers or hand traps, we're kind of doing a combination of both. On top of that, we're also playing Forbidden Droplet. This is one of the best cards in the Tri-Brigade engine, and it's one of the reasons why Tri-Brigade is so good. You can just play Droplet so very effectively, because being able to send either Nerval or Kit just does the whole line by itself, which means that you also generate advantage by sending cards to the graveyard, so you can potentially, just interact with them very favorably and then still be able to play the game, which is very nice. And that's it for the board breakers. We're also playing DD Crow, because it's solid, but it's not exceptional, but it is a winged beast. Then we are playing Meowls, 1 Meowls, and 3 Foolos. Meowls is a beast. Foolos is a winged beast. That's pretty much it. You could potentially play more Meowls. I don't think Meowls is all that great right now. I'm only playing the 1 because I didn't want to play 3 Crow. I don't think Crow's exceptional, so I kind of wanted to hedge my bets and play a mismatch of those there. So there you go. As for the extra deck, it's pretty simple. We are playing 1 apiece of each of the each of the Yummies, Lollipop, Cookie, and Cupsy, as well as Herald of Arclight, and the 1 Sorrow Cat. We're playing Sorrow Cat here because more likely you are going to have a level 1 non-tuner than to have a level one tuner. So instead of going for Starham and having to like discard a card, I was like, I'm just basically going to use this to go into Herald. That's pretty much the purpose of that. Most of the time, I'm just going to want the yummy cards anyway. So that's it. It's just a way to get into the Herald. And then it's 3 Link 1s, Linkaribo, Almirage, and Lightheart, all of which are pretty important for various different reasons. Basically, these are Link 1s that you can go into off of any of your Link or any of your monsters, right? Either your Nerval or your Kit, which is very nice. Lightheart allows you to banish a Beast Warrior Winged Beast to off of your Tri-Brigades to summon the Lightheart, which gives you a Link 1 for the Yummies without having to sacrifice one of your Snatchies. You can also summon a Snatchy off of this effect, but for the most part, this is just an additional guy that you can get into without having to utilize the Snatchies, which is pretty nice. Then we're playing the 2 Snatchy, and then we are playing 1 Double Dragon Lord, 1 Ferrigit, 1 Bearbrum, and 2 Shuraig. The 2 Shuraig is pretty important, but there were times I wanted the second Ferrigit, so you could potentially cut one of the Link 1s, like for example the Lightheart, and just play a second Ferrigit. But for the most part, I felt like this worked fairly well, and I wasn't too upset with any of it. Maybe a Link 3 would also be nice, but again, the only reason for that is so that you could go into Shuraig more effectively, but I don't think that's too necessary. Let's hop into the replays and show you how this deck performed. Alrighty, so here we are going second, and we have a pretty solid going second hand. We have Nibiru and DD Crow. However, it's not going to matter because not only is my opponent going to be able to look at my hand, they also get to Ripper, so the Nibiru is likely not to resolve. So there's that. At least DD Crow's like something against K9, right? So they're going to look at my hand, see the Nibiru and the DD Crow, and out comes Ripper. Ripper effect is going to activate. They're going to grab the Force Release since they already had access to their continuous spell, and out comes Raisin. Yeah, of course. They're going to go for the Lantern here. I'm going to allow that to happen because here's the thing. The only thing I want to use the DD Crow on is Lupus, right? So I'm going to... The Nibiru is just not going to resolve, I know that, but I want to use the DD Crow at the very least. My opponent messes up and for some reason goes for Masquerade, the wrong Masquerade. So... Oopsie poopsie. Here's the thing. To be fair, if they had made this this way anyway, they still would have messed up and not had the ability to go for the big Masquerade and have a negate. So for the most part, they just messed up. I think you're supposed to activate the Nash Knight and then do this. But alas. Anyway, it's fine. Out comes the Heavy Burger. I'm gonna say no to that. They say no to mine, so anyway. They'll burn for 15, sure. I know the 2 cards in hand are Izuna and the Raisin. They're gonna go and link off into their Link 1. Then they're gonna go for the Izuna, add back the Heavy Burger, and then pass the turn. I just activate because this can only activate in main phase during the main phase, so we just banish the Lupus. And honestly, that is the only reason I'm in this game. Is me banishing that Lupus there, being able to banish that Lupus. Obviously, had I been able to Nibiru, that also would have helped, but alas, here we go. I go for the Nerval here. We're going to activate the effect. They are going to then chain it in order to go into the Rock of the Vanquisher, and I'm like, sure. Out comes Raisin. I'm going to go for the Snatchy here, and my opponent, we're going to activate the Snatchy. They're going to activate the Raisin here, and then they go for the Force Release. Targeting their guy. I go for the Droplet here, and I immediately just send Nerval, not even really thinking about it. This is by far the worst choice for me, and the reason for that is because if they were to pop either Nerval, the Field Spell, or Snatchy, I would be able to pivot from that position into pretty much anything else, allowing me access to my cookie on the field, not on the field, in the hand, to get advantage, right? Or I would be able to, at the very least, you know, kind of be able to continue from there. Dropletting this guy specifically, I should have dropletted the Nibiru, just send the Nibiru away. But alas, I didn't because I'm stupid. So that almost ends up making me lose this game. In fact, it should have made me lose this game. So, whoops. Anyway, I do droplet here because I don't want to have them have access to specifically attributes, but more specifically than that, just any of them. So we're going to cut them off there. Out comes the Werewolf. They're going to pop the Snatchy. This is so heartbreaking. This is really, really dumb for me. It's fine. We're going to go for the Nerval here. They're going to then activate and banish. Here's the thing. Had they just waited for me to activate my Karos in hand, I would not be able to do anything. Obviously, we're searching Karos here off of the Nerval. But had they just known not to look at the hand and to wait for Karos, I would have been dead. Alas, we get to go for the Karos here. They're going to go for the Heavy Burger. That's fine. I know that they don't have anything in hand. So there's that. They're going to reveal in Earth and Fire. Sure, they had a second Azuna. Comedy. Out comes the Karos. We're going to banish 2. We're going to go for it. Bear Bum into Farajit. Yeah, there's not really anything I could do here. Again, had I kept my board presence instead of, you know, sending it away with the droplet, we would have been fine. But alas, I'm dumb. And, I didn't. Anyway, away goes their thing. We grab the Cookie Yummy, and we just pass the turn. It's Revolt and a Dream. But, to be fair, they don't really have anything. Like, what could they possibly have? They draw into a Dark, which is hilarious, which allows them to have all 3 attributes. So, that kind of sucks for me. They go into Rock the Vanquisher, and I don't know why they do this. This is a horrible play. I get the idea is to put in the grave the Heavy Burger so that you can add it back to your hand, right? Because they already have the Raisin in hand. They realistically should have just normaled Raisin, activate effect, search, and then link off the 2 monsters, because they already have Rock the Vanquisher, into something like SP or what have you. Now their zones are clogged, and you will see it come to bite them in the butt in a second here. They're going to go for the Heavy Burger. Out comes the Raisin, and I'm like, sure. Out comes Holly Sue. Sure. They're going to special summon the Holly Sue. Sure. Here's the problem. They can't take my monster, nor can they special summon a monster themselves because their zones are clogged. They literally do not have the ability to do that. So now they have to go for a rank 5. They go for Valon, sure. We're going to go and search, draw a card. It's Fua, sure. We're going to go for the Revolt. They have Maxi. Oh, cool. The last card in hand was Kukuracha. That's what they ended up drawing. So I'm going to give them 2 draws here off of the Shureg. We're going to go for the Shureg here. I'm actually going to, once again, keep them off of Vanquishal names. Banish the Raisin. You're not allowed to have that. I also search out the Fractal off of the Kit, or off of the Nerval, and then off of Shureg we grab Yummy now, which is really nice. They're going to summon another Azona set 2 and pass the turn. I'm worried about Imperm here. I also know that this is the quick play for the Canines, so okay, cool. I shouldn't have to contest anything here. So we're going to go for the Karos, or sorry, not the Karos, the Fractal. They're going to add back to the hand one off rock, add the Holly Sue, short, that's fine. We're going to dump Kit. Kit is going to dump Nerval. Nerval effect is going to activate. We're going to grab Fractal here, and then we're going to go for the triple tack to look at the hand. So they're going to go for the Holly Sue here, and like, that's fine. We're going to look at the hand. It has Dark Earth. Obviously, we're going to take the Earth there, just cut them off of attributes, shuffle it away. They don't really have anything here. They're going to go for the Heavy Burger. I guess they have the Heavy Burger to draw a card. They could potentially draw into Fire or something like that. Oh, I lied to you. I didn't lie to you. I thought they didn't have another target for Force Release. Who the hell plays Jax? I guess this guy. So yeah, out comes Jax. Sure. Why not? They're going to attempt to draw a card. I'm like, okay. This draw is like the only thing that matters here. If they have a fire, I die. They didn't draw a fire. Okay, we're good. We're good. They elect not to special summon. Makes sense. Now we get to go for the Snatchy. We're going to go for the Mignon. We're going to special summon back the Cookie. I'm going to activate the effect of the Cookie to decrease this guy's attack. And then we're going to go for the Lollipo. Lollipo effect is going to activate. We're going to special summon. Here's the thing. This is just me playing poorly. For some reason, I go combat here. Instead of going for Cupsy to search 2. I don't know. I could have killed him here. I just didn't even think about that. And the reason for this is because in the Dice Rally, Cupsy is banned. Cupsy Yummy Way is banned. So I was like, oh, I don't have access to that. And I didn't even think about that card. Because I've been playing a ton of Dice Rally with this deck. No, yeah, I could have just killed him here. It's fine. We are in a fantastic position from here, right? We still get to go for the Cupsy Yummy Way anyway, and they're basically out of material, right? They can't do anything. They put a card back. I go for the Yummy here, just to bounce the guy, and then we get to go for the Cupsy, and grab up the Cupsy Yummy Way, as well as the Lollipo. We pitch the Fractal. We get to special summon both. At this point, the game is pretty much over. There's not a whole lot that they can do. Sure, they have Vanquishal cards in hand, but it's not like they have any good attributes, right? They have, like, 1, right? So they have Holly Sue and I think one other guy. But at this point, you know, we have the full Yummy engine online. So at this point, again, the game is over. Understandable disconnect. Alrighty, now we are actually getting to go first. Hip hip hooray. We're going to start off here with the Fool Lost to put a winged beast into the grave. Yeah, that's more so the purpose in this deck than it is to actually have meaningful, you know, potential interactions. But yeah, we get to go and pitch the kit to the graveyard with Karos. Nerval is going to activate. We're going to grab the Fractal now. And now we get to banish one for the Snatchy. Yeah. Snatchy grabs us the field spell, and then we can go for it. The Karos, or not the Karos, the Fractal into the Cupsy. Cupsy, grab up the Surprise. And now I'm actually going to make the correct play and go into the Cupsy Yummy Way. Activate the effect of the Cupsy Yummy Way, grab the Cookie. We're going to grab the Yummy. Also, these are Sky Striker sleeves. This is Sky Striker field. I'm fairly certain we're playing against Striker. So I elect to go for Herald. Hey, guess what? Karos is a 2. And with a level 2 tuner, that's Herald of Arclight. Bada bing, bada boom. We're going to go for the Yummy Surprise. We're going to grab that back off of the Mao and go into a properly summoned Snatchy here. So I'm feeling pretty good. We have Nib, we have Revolt, and we have Surprise. And Kit. I'm sorry, what? Sphere mode? Huh? Yeah, I got Sphere moded. Don't worry, it'll be funny. My opponent reveals that they are on Draco Tail. Huh? Draco Tail. Okay. Yeah, for sure. They're gonna go for the Arthalion to add back by mana. Here I actually go for the Revolt. They did Maxi me earlier in the turn because Maxi is a card that is fair and balanced. But I'm gonna go for the Shurike here to banish the Rahu that they end up setting. I'm fairly certain they're they're going to set the Rahu, so I elect to do this so that they do not have the opportunity to actually utilize it. We're going to search one, send one, and then banish the Rahu. Out comes triple attack. Sure, they take one of my monsters. They elect to take the Sphere mode. I understand why you have to kind of take the Sphere mode, because otherwise you're not going to be able to do any damage, but like, huh? Anyway, out comes Mirror Jade. They're going to activate the effect of the Mirror Jade. They're going to banish our monster, get in for 3k, and then pass back to us, setting one card. However, I do elect to still kind of play into the Maxi during the end phase because the Marshmallow specifically allows me to grab back that Surprise so that I can use it later. So I like to do this instead of like going for a Synchro or something of that nature. If I'm not mistaken, I've also used both of my Snatchies, right? One of them just wasn't properly summoned, so I can't utilize it. But yeah, there you go. Anyway, add back that Surprise. Hip hip hooray. They're going to also add the Branded Fusion here and give me back my 0 attack point normal summoned monster in Sphere mode. That's right, it's Owl Mirage time, baby. I don't know why. Owl Mirage just says it just requires a normal summoned 1000 attack or less monster. So yeah, if you don't know, Sphere mode specifically is a normal summon. I don't know why it's a normal summon, but it is a normal summon. Unlike Lava Golem or a Kaiju or something of that nature, this is specifically a normal summon that you give to your opponent. It's very silly, but alas, it allows me to have Owl Mirage, which is very funny, which now triggers the field spell, which now gives us Yummy, which now gives us Lollipo. They go for the Owl Mirage here. I'm like, that's A-okay. Or the Droll there. That's A-okay. Now we can actually go into our Synchro monster here because we got rid of their Draco Tail, so I don't have to contend with that. So we're going to activate the effect of the Lollipo. They're going to activate Horn. Sure. Out comes our 2 monsters. We normal summon a guy, and that is lethal over their monster because of the Surprise. So we just, from that point, we proceed to combat. We bounce a guy, and then they die. Hooray. Alrighty, here we are going second once again. I'm going to tell you straight up, I think I won 1 coin flip in like 12 games that I played with this deck. So, generational run of just unfortunate coin flips. It was very funny. Anyway, Maxi, Ash, minigame, lost. However, we're playing against Mermail. Ash Blossom is actually pretty good against Mermail, and this hand, as long as we can keep them off of the barrier statue, I don't know if they're playing the barrier statue, but if we can keep them off of access to the barrier statue, this hand is very powerful. It's 3 Yummies, but they don't necessarily have immediate removal. They might, but it kind of depends on their hand and stuff like that. Anyway, my opponent got really greedy here. Off of the Dragoons, they decided to search Abyss Pike as opposed to the guy that you normal summon that immediately sends for cost and doesn't die to Ash Blossom. So, yeah, And then they sent the Shadow Squad, which is not a bad send, but now they don't really have anything because I just ashed the Shadow Squad, and now they do not have the ability to summon their Abyss Pike. Not Abyss Pike. Abyss something or other. What is this card's name? Where is he? Abyss Lind? No, that's different. The print... Am I going crazy? There he is. Neptabyss. Neptabyss. Yeah, that guy. So, yeah, we just ash here, and now they don't have access to this because they got real greedy. They do have the Abyss Rain, which is something. And now they can make the rank 7, which is a full field negate. The only issue with that is it's terrible against us. So there's that. I draw another Cupsy, which is not great. We're just going to normal summon the cookie and activate its effect. You might be wondering, why are we activating this? And the simple answer is because 1800 is way easier to get over. So there's that. We're going to go for Link Karibo. Why are we going Link Karibo, Snow? Well, the reason for that is because if I go Snatchy, they just negate the Snatchy. I don't want that. So we're instead not going to do that. We're going to go for the Lollipo here. Out comes Cupsy. We're going to activate the effect of the Cupsy, and for some reason, my opponent decides that this is a great time to activate the effect that negates the field. You know, when I could just ignore it. Look, if my Mermail opponent was even just slightly smarter, this game could have been highly detrimental. If they weren't nearly as greedy, it could have been so much worse. But alas, yeah, they just died here. I don't know what to tell you. I didn't even have to summon the Marshmallow. Like, they're just dead. Anyway, good game. All right, we're back with the deck, and honestly, this deck was actually pretty good. Most of the time, I don't talk about win rates on this, on these videos, because for the most part, when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh, win rates, I feel like don't really have much application if I am playing, 1, a best of 1, and 2, such a small sample size. So for the most part, with the terrible luck that I had, my win rate was really terrible. That being said, I still was capable of winning games, going second, as you saw, right? And on top of that, the go first board is that of Yummy, which is very powerful. You can even back it up with the things like Revolt, or even just like putting a Shureg onto your field in tandem with the Yummy cards gives you an additional non-target banish, which is again very powerful. So all in all, it's not like you are ending on a bad board. It's just trying to play through established boards, or, you know, just whatever Yu-Gi-Oh is. That being said, this deck felt pretty good, right? The Tri-Brigade stuff gets you into the Yummy stuff. The Yummy stuff doesn't necessarily specifically get you into the Tri-Brigade stuff. So there's that. But, I mean, theoretically, you could go into a Shureg if you really wanted to, right? There is an ability to do that, and then you could link it off for something dependent on the amount of bodies you're capable of producing. I don't necessarily think it's a good option, but you theoretically could do something of that nature. So there's that. Anyway, for the most part, the point is, I guess you wouldn't have anything banished if you did that, so never mind, forget I said that. For the most part, the point is that the Tri-Brigade stuff does help the Yummy stuff, and I think it is a fairly decent engine overall for Yummy. I don't think it's the best engine, obviously, but I think it's a fun engine, right? And it allows you to play Droplet even more effectively, which I think is really good right now. Being able to Droplet things like a Yummy end board, being able to Droplet things like a Canine Vanquishal end board, just having that like quick effect interaction is pretty important. You don't necessarily use it as a way to start the combo, but as a way to instead insulate your plays from their disruptions at quick effect speed, right? So being able to play that is pretty solid, and just overall I think that this deck is pretty cool. Also, DD Crow is actually surprisingly good right now. It stops Lupus, it stops Yummies, it stops even, you know, it has applications against the Mitsu stuff. It's not great applications, but like you could banish like Mirror, or if they go for like Prayers, you could banish their target for that, right? So there's like a few things, right? If they like tribute a card for cost, like again with Prayers, you'd be able to like banish it. Actually, does Prayers tribute for cost? I don't know. Yeah. So there's that. So there's a few things that DD Crow hits that's fairly advantageous right now. So being able to play that alongside the Fuwas to generate advantage for your Tri-Brigades, which gets you access to your Yummies, all very solid. And it's all pretty fun. I mean, Tri-Brigade is one of my favorite decks. I really like the way that Yummy plays in tandem with... Well, no, I just like the way that Yummy plays in general. I think it's really cool. So all in all, fun deck. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy. If you did, a like is very much appreciated. And remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye.